This tutorial is divided into two parts. Part 1 is about the basic knowledge in Photoshop elements. Part 2 is about the practice itself. Hello and welcome to my tutorial. I'm Martin W. Larouche. When I need to colorize a black and white photo, I usually look for some kind of reference in order to make it look real. Like on the internet, or I may look at the colors of an old photo. A magazine, a book, and who knows what. But the best reference is always the real-life object. If you don't wish to use any reference, you may end up with bizarre colors. You can do whatever you want. Why not a pink leaf? An orange apple? A blue leaf? A green desktop? Or a violet apple? Who knows what you have in mind? The next step is to divide your photo into multiple areas. In my case, it's simple. I have only 4 areas. Next, I fill each area with a specific color. Here's some red for the apple, some beige on the top half, some green on the leaf, and a light beige on the desktop. The next step is to change the blending mode. All those areas filled with colors should be in fact above the original black and white photo. And finally, I have to flatten all those layers. I get one layer or image at the end. Once again, the 5 major steps I use to add colors on a black and white photo. Okay, now let's do it. Before anything, let's check the color mode. I take Image, Mode, and I switch to the RGB color mode. Let's zoom in with the zoom tool. I click and I drag my mouse like this. To select the apple, I take the polygonal lasso right here. I make sure there's some kind of feather in my selection. 2 pixels should be okay. I click, move my mouse around without dragging it. Because the apple has no straight line, I have to click many times. Remember one thing though, do not double click during the procedure. It would close your selection too early. Here I don't take the shadow under the apple, but only the object itself. And I come back to my first click to complete the procedure. If you're not familiar with the selections, here's a reminder. You may watch this tutorial, number 1. The next step is to choose a color palette, window, and color swatches. and I take web hues. Around here I can choose my color. This red square is in fact the foreground. Now I will save my selection. I take select and save selection. I type in the name, Apple. I hit OK to confirm. You'll see why I do it a bit later. I need to create a new layer with layer, new, and layer. I call it Apple. And I hit OK. The new layer is here, above the black and white photo. Now it's time to fill the selection with some red. I take Edit, Fill Selection. Here's the foreground. I hit OK. Next, I'll clear this selection with Select and Deselect. Then I'll change the blending mode here. I have found three interesting blending modes: the lighten mode, the overlay mode, and the color mode. In this tutorial, I'll take the overlay mode every time. Here I can modify its opacity to get the result I want. Here it won't do. I go back to the right. 70% looks good. I click outside to confirm. Now I will reload the selection previously made. I take Select and Load Selection. I take the Apple selection, of course. I click OK. Now I'll add a second color, so the apple will look real. I take the brush tool, change its size to some 100 pixels. Around here I can choose my green color. Here the foreground is now green. The next step is to create a new layer. I take Layer, New, Layer. I name it Green Apple. And I confirm with OK. Here's the new layer. Now what I'll do is to paint over the bright areas of the apple. A couple of clicks will do the job. Now is the time to change the blending mode. I go up right here and take it. I take Overlay. Here again I can change the opacity. Here it goes back to beige and kind of green too. Alright, that's good at 70%. I click outside to accept that. I don't need this selection anymore. I take Select and Deselect. To see my work, I click on the hand tool. To better understand color blending, you may refer to this tutorial, number 5. starting at 334. I will need a new layer for the leaf. I take Layer, New, and Layer. I name it Leaf. And I confirm here. Here you can see the new layer. With the zoom tool, I go closer. I now take the polygonal lasso. I make sure I have a small feather. And I start to surround the leaf. Because this shape is full of curves, I'll have to click many times. As you might see, as I go around the leaf, I'm not clicking exactly on the edge of the leaf, but slightly inside. That's because I have a tiny feather. And finally I come back to my first click. I'm now saving my selection with Select and Save Selection. And I give the name Leaf. I confirm with OK. Here I will need a bright green a bit later. Now it's time to fill it with the same green color. I take Edit, Fill Selection, same foreground, and OK. I deselect. I change the blending mode to Overlay and the opacity. If I go down to 0%, it will look great, as you can see. Well, 79 looks good. I click down here. To see what I've done so far, I click on the hand tool. I should add a bright green above the leaf. I have to reload my selection. I take Select, Load Selection. And I take Leaf. I hit OK. I go closer with the zoom tool. I'm now going for the brush tool. Here I have a large brush. I drag its cursor to reach some 10 pixels. Okay, now it's time to choose my new color. Here. Down here I have a brighter green color. A new layer is required, of course. I take Layer, New, Layer. And I call it Bright Green. OK to confirm. What I'm doing here is paint over the bright areas of the leaf. The brush, as always, must have a smooth texture, otherwise the modification would show some demarcations. You can always come back and use the eraser tool to rework this area. I deselect. And once again, change the blending mode from normal to overlay. And reduce the opacity to some 50%. I click outside to confirm. Once more I click on the hand tool. Behind the apple, I'll take care of the vertical surface. I take Layer, New, Layer. And I call it Wall. I hit OK. Here it is. To make sure I select everything, I have to zoom out a bit. I click in this box. I type 95% and I hit Enter. I now take the polygonal lasso. Make sure I have inactive feather. One click here. Here. And as usual, I come back to my first click. Right here. Now you should understand why I've been saving all those selections. I take Select, Load Selection, Subtract from Selection, and Apple. OK. Then, to subtract the leaf, I take Select, Load Selection, Subtract from Selection, and choose the leaf, and I hit OK to proceed. Now I have only what I wanted. Around here I can choose my beige color. At the corner here, you can see the beige foreground. It's time to fill the selection with Edit, Fill Selection, the foreground, and OK. Here I take the overlay mode, as usual. I can also change the opacity. Whoa, it's getting gray. Let's go back to the right. Let's say 78%. I click outside. I have to save this selection with Select, Save Selection. I call it Wall. I hit OK, and I deselect as usual. Alright, the final colorization. I'll need a new layer for the desktop area. I take Layer, New, and Layer. I call it Desktop. And I hit OK. Here you can see the desktop layer. Always with the polygonal lasso, I click to surround the area. And I come back to my starting point, here. Now I'll subtract the apple from this selection. I take Select, Load Selection, Subtract from Selection, and I choose Apple. It's time to save this new selection with Select, Save Selection. I give the name Desktop and I click OK. Now I have to add the color with Edit, fill selection, foreground, and OK. Now I switch the blending mode to overlay mode. And I can modify the opacity if necessary. Let's go back to the right. Let's say I think that 100 is okay. No change here. I click outside. I can deselect now with select, deselect. Because I have saved my selections and I've created layers, I can rework this photo anytime I want. Here, for example, as I look at the green leaf, there's something wrong with the bright areas. I just have to click on the layer and I should lower the opacity. Now that's much better. The highlight on the leaf looks more natural. You can save your work in the PSD format file or JPEG format file. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.